Convoy. According to its website, the Convoy have called themselves God's Army and are calling on active and retired law enforcement, military, veterans, elected officials, and other law-abiding, freedom-loving Americans to join the cause.
These people are committed to a peaceful demonstration that we've had enough. The American people have had enough.
Last week on Fox Business, Republican Congressman Keith Self of Texas said he supports the group, which plans to leave Monday from Virginia Beach and head south to Jacksonville, Florida, before making several stops along the border. On February 3rd, the group plans to split up for 3 separate rallies in Eagle Pass, Texas, Yuma, Arizona, and San Ysidro, California. Convoy leaders telling Vice News they want to, quote, shed light on the obvious dangers posed by wide-open southern borders. It comes amid a feud between Texas Governor Greg Abbott and the Biden White House over border enforcement measures.
It's unfortunate that there is a governor in Texas, Governor Abbott, who has politicized this issue of what's happening on the border. And it's not making people's lives safer. It's actually making it harder for law enforcement at the border to do their job.
Over the weekend, Governor Abbott vowing the fight is not over after the Supreme Court voted 5-4 last week in favor of the federal government's power to remove razor wire installed at Abbott's direction along stretches of the border in Texas.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott refusing to give up control of the Texas border to federal officials, saying the state will not give federal agents full access to Shelby Park today. That ignores a deadline set by the Biden administration, which is today. Instead, Abbott is installing more razor wire following a Supreme Court order allowing federal agents to start removing it. Texas now receiving support from 25 Republican governors, all backing Governor Abbott's border actions, blaming the Biden administration for the crisis. Former President Trump wants to take it one step further. He's now encouraging these states to deploy their National Guard troops to Texas to prevent illegal crossings. Trump's vowing that if he becomes president again, he's going to work with Abbott to seal the border, writing, quote, Biden says let in those should not get it comfortable because they will be going home. I want to bring in Texas Congressman Lieutenant Colonel Keith Self. Congressman, good morning. Governor Kristi Noem already saying, yes, I would send National Guard troops. Is that something that you think that Texas is open to? And is that a move that needs to be made now?
Well, that will be up to Governor Abbott. But I think the border has now reached the boiling point, that you now see governors getting involved. We have a trucker convoy coming down to the border. The American people are going to have to get involved. I'm delighted to see 25 governors support Governor Abbott. And yeah, I think we're going to have to be aware that the president can federalize the National Guard, but it would be much harder if 25 governors sent their National Guard troops to the border to support Texas.
Karine Jean-Pierre has been asked about this, and of course she's defending her boss, President Biden, but her response is always interesting. It still seems to be a gaslighting type of response from her. The border is secure. We're working on the border. Secretary Mayorkas, we're very aware of the issues down there, but their goal is to process migrants, not to stop the flow of migrants across the border.
Cheryl, I was on the border just 3 weeks ago, and that's exactly what the Border Patrol is doing. They have 72 hours to process the illegal immigrants, turn them over to ICE or a nonprofit to move them into the interior of the United States. They are not there to stop the invasion. And that's perfectly clear to anyone that's been on the border, anyone that sees the videos. At one point during the tsunami of probably a month ago, there were no Border Patrol agents actually in the field. They were all in the office processing paperwork during that tsunami.
Let's talk about this trucker convoy. You brought this up just a moment ago. So this is called Take Our Border Back. It kicks off Monday. So you've got multiple starts. You've got trucks leaving from Virginia Beach that are going to go through Texas, Arizona, California. On the website, it describes the event as a peaceful assembly, encouraging all freedom-loving and law-abiding Americans to attend. I saw that you posted on X to raise awareness about that. You obviously just mentioned it a moment ago. I understand that you're going to be speaking once they get to Eagle Pass. I also see that it's going to go through Yuma. It's going to go to San Ysidro, California as well. 700,000 vehicles. That's the prediction here. How do you keep that peaceful and on track? That's a lot of trucks.
Well, the people that have organized this are the same people that went from California to D.C. with the truckers. I understand we're going to be joined by Canadian truckers. So these people are committed to a peaceful demonstration that we've had enough. The American people have had enough. We're demanding that the Biden administration do its job, enforce the laws on the books, and secure our border. 8 million people during the Biden administration. That's more than the population of Ohio. This is the time for us to rise up as the American people and demand that our president do his job.
Well, I hope, again, I do hope that envoy is peaceful and organized and doesn't kind of, you worry about large movements like this. I mean, obviously the Canadian trucker convoy you just mentioned ended up creating a lot of issues and supply chain issues, of course, where the Business Network, I had to ask that. But I do want to bring in Carol Ross. She's got a question for you. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, Congressman, I love the fact that people are standing up and using their voices peacefully. But we know that bad actors in the past have co-opted these types of events and done everything they can to make the peace-loving Americans look bad. Are you concerned that there might be some sort of co-opting of this convoy?
That's always a probability, but you learn as you do these events. So they now know that that might have been in the past, so they've got measures in place to make sure that does not happen. And I am hopeful that that will not happen, because this should be a peaceful movement of the American people, joined by other nations if they want to come. This is the Canadian farmers, truckers. This is the German farmers. This is the French farmers. This is the Dutch farmers. This is a movement well beyond the United States, that people are simply tired of the overreach of their federal governments, and we're pushing back. Now is the time.
We continue, obviously, these proceedings against Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas. Where are we with that right now? Before we go, where are you with that?
Well, wants to impeach the secretary, and it failed because of Republican votes. I think that we will try again in the very near future. I thought we were going to do it last week, but I think we're close to doing it. And this time, I fully expect that impeachment to pass and him to be impeached. Pass it to the Senate for an actual trial.
Okay. All right. We are, of course, following that story as well. Congressman Keith Self. Congressman, thank you for being here.
As tensions escalate between the federal government and Texas over how to handle the influx of migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border, this week, a group of self-proclaimed patriots is planning a peaceful rally in what organizers are calling the Take Our Border Back. Former President Donald Trump over the weekend in Las Vegas commenting on the situation.
When I'm president, instead of trying to send Texas a restraining order, I will send them reinforcements.
Texas now receiving support from Republican governors of 25 states. Trump calling for those governors to take it one step further and send their National Guard troops to Texas in support of Governor Abbott's efforts to secure the border. Mara Sirianni, Scripps News.
Well, Thaddeus Cleveland is the sheriff in Terrell County, Texas, also a former Border Patrol agent, and is joining us now for more perspective on what is happening there at the border, as D.C. perhaps is poised to take some fairly dramatic action here. Appreciate your time, sir. Thanks for being with us here on Morning Rush. I'm curious, in broad strokes, for folks who don't live in Texas or Arizona or California or parts of Florida, talk to us about why you think the border issue is worthy of national attention and is more than just a border state issue.
Hey, good morning, and thank you for having me. And I'll tell you what, now I've been sheriff for almost 2 years now, and before that, just over 26 years as a Border Patrol agent. And before that, raised on the border. I've spent all my life on the border, except my time in the military and my time in Washington, D.C. headquarters. This border issue's been going on that long and much longer before. And I've spoke on many times in many circumstances to groups of people and told them, before this administration, we had 4 administrations going from President Clinton to President Bush to President Obama to President Trump. All 4 of those administrations contributed to a safer and more secure border. It got to the point where President Trump, what he did by holding Mexico's feet to the fire, as well as instituting the MPP, Migrant Protection Protocols, which is what we need back right now to stop what's going on, would solve a lot of stuff. But I guess to get back to your question, this affects us all. This doesn't affect our border communities, because they're here, they cross the border for a short time, and they're going to places where you're at now, all across the United States.
As you said, this has been an issue and it's been a topic of conversation for decades, and no one has really seemed to get it all the way right. Right now, how are you feeling when it comes to talks about the border and what's going to happen next? What do you think are the next actionable steps to give some real tangible results and to move forward?
You know, first and foremost, what I've seen in the Senate, what they're proposing, it isn't going to work. What we have to focus on first is securing our border. Once we secure the border, then you can start looking at some sort of immigration reform, because if you start talking about immigration reform before you secure the border, you're going to continue to have that draw of people. And we start putting limits. You know, we see the term that they're going to use 5,000 people as a measuring stick. I'll tell you what, when I was a Border Patrol agent in Arizona and we'd make seizures of marijuana, it got to where the assistant U.S. attorney wouldn't prosecute anything under 500 pounds of marijuana or anything under 25 people in a smuggling level. So what you started seeing is 499 pounds, 24 people. The cartels are smart enough to work it just under the laws and continue to flood our border with people.
And when you say, obviously folks cross over here, we all know that they're leaving pretty hellish conditions back in their home country. And by and large, they're coming to America for a better life. How do you then strike a balance between what we need to do to be secure as a country, but also at the same time being humane to these people who are coming here for a better life, and not only for a better life, coming to a country that was built by immigrants to begin with? So how do you walk that line in a way that's fair and humane?
You know, couldn't agree with you more. And again, first we have to secure our border from those that are coming to do us harm, those that are smuggling narcotics. Then you look at that immigration reform, as I mentioned earlier, and having an orderly process to bring people in our country. There's no doubt we need a workforce here. There's no doubt that the people that are doing construction in our cities, cleaning our hotel rooms, processing poultry, processing beef, picking our fruits and vegetables, they're illegal laborers. They cross right through my county where I'm a Border Patrol agent, or where I was a Border Patrol agent and where I'm sheriff. We need that workforce, but we have to secure our border first and then start re-looking at those programs. But with that being said, you know, what's happening right now, the U.S. Border Patrol, they're being pitted against the state of Texas. I tell you, both of those agents, and including my agency and local law enforcement along the border, are working together. In my county alone, historically, we'd have one death a year. One death. This last 3 years since this administration took over, we've had 37. So I can tell you what's happening in Eagle Pass, El Paso, Lukeville, San Isidro, and even right here in my county, it's not humane. People are dying because of the lack of policy by this administration.
The upcoming Take Back Our Border event could draw thousands to the border to protest current conditions right now. As a sheriff near the border, how concerned are you that something could happen there?
You know, not concerned at all. I think you're going to get people that want to come down and show the support, and we get it all the time, man. We get people that come out of Houston. One guy I've made friends with, Mr. Alexander, they come out and they cook for our Border Patrol agents, cook for our state personnel. They wave the American flag. We've seen this all along the border before. You know, once it gets down the border, I think it'll be safe and secure, because they want to get down here and just be able to support and show their support for those that are protecting our borders.
But, sir, I mean, listen, you're well aware of the climate we're living in right now. We all certainly hope it is peaceful. But there is a certain cowboy mentality that some people have in a country with a gun problem, whether any more immigrants come or not. And you hear rhetoric like they're poisoning the blood of our country. It's an invasion. It's a caravan. You mix the guns with the rhetoric and the political climate of the country. Certainly there is the possibility here of things not going well. I don't want to gloss over that, and I want your reaction, a realistic reaction to what you think is potentially stewing here.
Look, the U.S. Border Patrol, we've been handling stuff like this for years, and what I mean by handling stuff like this, again, back in the late 90s and early 2000s when I was in Arizona, I spent about 10 years in Arizona. When Arizona, Nogales, and Douglas were the hot spots. We had vigilante groups coming to the border. We had faith-based organizations coming to the border, and we were there to balance both of those sides. So we've got a lot of experience in that from the Border Patrol side of the house. And then you look at the partnership with the state of Texas. Look, back in 2008, I spent 6 months as Border Patrol's representative to the state of Texas. The state of Texas has been doing border security for many, many, many years. As a matter of fact, if you go to their headquarters and you look at the wall, there's black and white photos of Border Patrol agents and DPS troopers. Point being is that we're trained professionals. We're trained to handle situations like this and to be able to de-escalate anything. Yes, you're right. We've always got to be prepared, especially in this day and age. But again, I'm confident that it's going to be okay, and guys are going to be all right.
And that's the point, though. You guys are the professionals and trained. Others are not. So just highlighting that.
Terrell County, Texas Sheriff Thaddeus Cleveland, thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thank you all. God bless.
We don't respect women. We had mourning women in the Senate talking about their children. Our representatives didn't even show up. They were attacked, and that was the status quo. There's no reason to give up power because he's not in power. Andrew, who I respect, he's not. You can't reinvent grandpa because he's not grandpa. He doesn't even claim his own grandchildren. There is no reason because the Democrats aren't running the country. These are not Democrats. I have no problem losing an election to everything might not go my way, but they're Democrats. This is socialism and progressivism using an elderly man who can't remember what day of the week it is as their puppet. That's why he only has two sentences. He can't put two sentences together. He puts 3 or 4 together. That's the problem. He's just a puppet. And there is no way in blue hell that they're going to give that up because they are getting stuff that even 50 years that he's been in government, he's never been this far. But he has no clue what's going on. So and they're not going to run against Trump. There will be no debates because he's not going to debate with a criminal. I've said it over and over again. They're going to use all the stuff they set up to not debate him. They're going to run on what they think is going to get him to the finish line. But the problem is the American people do not like being known as cowards. Even with what's going on in the Middle East, if England didn't do something, then we did it. But when we're left to do something, we don't do it. We blow up empty buildings. And that's the problem. So in the economy, it doesn't matter. Americans don't feel good about this country right now, period.